breaking news.
And breaking news at 6. In the last hour, the Attorney General's office told the Way 31i team it's concerned about the parole board's decision to release a man serving a life sentence who is now charged with killing 3 people, including a child.
You are looking at part of the statement sent just after 5 o'clock this evening about Jimmy Spencer. He is charged with killing those 3 people in Guntersville. The AG's office wrote, quote, Mr. Spencer was improperly categorized as a non-victim offender. As a result, our Office of Victim Assistance was not alerted to his violent past. This case also raises concerns with the board's risk of assessment procedures and whether the implementation of this process is failing the public, end quote. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dan Schaefer.
And I'm Demetria McClinton. The AG's statement came just hours after the governor told the I-team something must be done.
We have team coverage for you tonight. We start live in Guntersville, where Way 31 Stephen Delcizian questioned the governor about the parole board's decision. Stephen?
Dan, Demetria, I'm here at the Guntersville State Lodge Park, where earlier today I asked Governor Kay Ivey what action she plans to take after Jimmy Spencer was granted parole, even though he was serving a life sentence. And I also asked her about the state's failure to notify anybody of Spencer's release. Ivey emphasized her legal staff is continuing to investigate what exactly happened with Spencer, but she says she's very aware of the situation. Now, the Franklin County District Attorney and one of Spencer's original victims were never notified of Spencer's parole hearing in 2017, which is against the law. Ivey says she's looking into it.
I've already asked the board to address their victim notification policies, and they tell me that they are reviewing them as we speak.
And do you know kind of how they're going to review it and maybe some changes that could be coming in Alabama?
Well, obviously the change you want is for every victim to get notified, so that's a no-brainer.
Now, I asked Governor Ivey how specifically she's reviewing this case and what specific actions we could see being taken. She couldn't answer any of those for me. Reporting live in Guntersville, Stephen Delcizian, Way 31 News.
Thanks, Stephen. The Alabama Attorney General's office is also looking into if the parole board properly notified its office about Jimmy Spencer's release. The I-team started looking into possible violations more than a month ago. Today, we learned the Attorney General's office is doing the same thing. Way 31's Brecken Terry is live in Franklin County now with the new questions she learned the state is asking.
Well, we just learned from the Attorney General's office that the parole board did notify them in 2017 about Jimmy Spencer's parole hearing. Now, Alabama law says that the Franklin County District Attorney's office should have been notified as well. The Franklin County DA tells me that he was not notified about Spencer's parole hearing, and he tells me if he had been notified, he would have fought to keep him behind bars. Wednesday afternoon, Franklin County District Attorney Joey Rushing told me he spent the past month trying to find any evidence. The parole board notified his office about Jimmy Spencer's parole hearing. He can't find it. And I'm about to show you this could be a bigger flaw in the entire victim notification system.
I absolutely do not think there was ever a notice sent on this case, or else we would have had it.
A 2015 law changed the parole board's notification system. It created an electronic notification system. It's supposed to help victims track individual cases, but Rushing told me it's a little different for prosecutors.
No, I'm not just making excuses. Obviously, if there was a notice sent, I would have it in our file, or the victim would have got it, or the Attorney General, somebody would have received a notice, and we would have known that Mr. Spencer was up again.
Rushing told me the system is automated. A computer compiles the names and sends out the notice letters. He even showed me some recent parole notification letters. But Rushing's convinced his office isn't getting every notification, and that's illegal.
I did not receive a notice on. The victims did get a notice. They came in and said, you know, well, we hadn't heard from you. And I said, what about? And they said, oh, so-and-so's up for parole. And I was like, well, I sure didn't know that.
Rushing believes it's happening more often than it should. He also said the automated system makes it hard to hold any specific individual accountable.
Yeah, that's the thing about it with the computer, everything doing it via transmissions and computer-generated letters, that sort of thing. You know, there would be no way of going back to check, you know what I mean, that somebody, you know, did put that person into the computer and sent a notice out.
Now, what the Attorney General's office just sent us saying that they were concerned about is this. This is the checklist that the parole board now uses to basically pardon or parole people. This is actually Jimmy Spencer's checklist that got him out of jail, and it says that the parole board checked the boxes that he had a positive institutional record and that he had a low to medium risk of reoffending. Now, the ORAS level, or that low to medium risk of offending, is actually an analytical tool that is supposed to measure an inmate's chances of reoffending. As you can see, these two boxes were checked, and that is obviously what the Attorney General's office says that they are going to be looking into. Live in Franklin County, Brecken Terry, Way 31 News.
All right, thank you, Brecken. Here is everything the Way 31 I-team has been able to uncover on Spencer after he was paroled. And Spencer was let out of prison in January of this year. He then walked away from a mission center where he was supposed to be for 6 months within 3 weeks of arriving. The mission center told us they notified his parole officer. Spencer has then written a misdemeanor citation in May in Guntersville at a state park. In June, Guntersville police were called on him by a woman he's now charged with killing, but he cooperated with police and they couldn't arrest him. Again, nothing pops up in a national crime database on him. On the same day in June, Spencer is arrested by Sardis police for resisting arrest and drug charges. They contact the state about him and nothing is done again. Police say 1 month later, he killed 3 people, including a 7-year-old boy in Guntersville.